going in hard on this kind of single late game carry mentality, except this time it's going to be the Sky instead of the Kestrel.
Yeah, there's going to be a Rhyme coming out for Secret here as the last pick. The Rhyme should be able to deal with the Art and Lance combo pretty decently. Sky maybe a bit of a wild card there, but they do have a team to deal with it. They have Silence coming out of Vox. You got Bright Bulwark to help control an area with the Lyra, so pretty strong comps on both sides.
Yeah, Rhyme does pretty well into Lance. He's not the best into Arden. I'd actually say that Arden-Lance combo is probably one of the harder to frontline tanky ones. If it's a Finn or something, you actually like it quite a lot more because there isn't that mobility. And also just the nature of Rhyme's auto attacks going into Arden. He heals quite a bit back from that. Got to land the skill shot. So it's all going to be about the Sky. Like, Sky has to make all the plays in order to get them into the next round.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, though, that Palmatora played Rhyme in the final week of last split and did not do so well with it. So hopefully he's practiced up a little more, Team Secret are used to it. Guys, we're doing another vote. This is the third and final game of the series. Do you want G2 or Secret to take this away? Type !vote followed by either one of those into the chat to cast your vote. Let's head on to the Halcyon Fold and find out who's making it to day 2 in this first week of the second split. We've got a Scoundrel and Sona to take you through the action.
Thank you so much, Jackson. And guys, yes, we are into this final game between G2 and Team Secret. Sona, I mean, this is an interesting draft. G2 going back to that Lance, looking to be aggressive, but Palmatora with the Rhyme. This seems calculated.
The Rhyme is really interesting, actually, because the first Rhyme we saw on a competitive stage, like recently, was from G2. They were playing it against SK at Gamescom, and they played it really effectively, and that was actually after we saw the Spring Finals. So now Dr. is going to take a huge amount of pain. He's going to go down. There's no escape for him at all. Just left by his team for dust, and that Rhyme slowing him down consistently. Mowgli with the Imperial Sigil as well, and with those auto-attack slows. It's very, 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 very difficult to get away.
Very, 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 very,
very, very, man. It's about as difficult to get away as it
Thinking
is
what the
to
next
get
word to say
away
was.
from a hippopotamus after you've actually stolen the hippopotamus's coffee, and the hippopotamus is a coffee drinker and needs the caffeine.
Okay. Well, anyway, Redix, while you were talking about hippopotamuses,
another death, man. I watched it. I watched that death.
You did. Well, he died. And it was from Lyra there. It seems that Palmatora here on this Rhyme just able to just duel effectively against Dark Potato in the early game. And this, to be honest, seems to have been where Team Secret were getting caught out by G2 previously. They got caught off guard by G2's aggression and G2's dueling potential, especially from Dark Potato and Redix. Now Palmatora has said, hey, I can take a hero that will absolutely, in most cases, duel quite nicely against other melees, and especially into Lance. And G2, they want to look to make things happen in the jungle. They want to look to be aggressive, and because that happened there, because the small fight happened earlier on, Palmatora just said, hey, no, I'm absolutely fine with this. Double melee jungle, I will just land Winter Spires over and over again. And they've already got off to a pretty good start here, Team Secret.
That they have really good position for them. Obviously, they're still looking to see how much more they can get out of this. Now, what we've seen in the last 2 games is whoever gets that initial advantage tends to win out the game, and I feel part of that is because of how good these teams are and very good at not giving away a lead. And part of it also is the way that Vainglory is at the moment. When you get an early advantage, it's very easy if you're a strong level team to go in and counter jungle. Now, Reddick's going to take a lot of pain here. Hundo's trying to position off towards the side. Should be able to get away from this one on the Sky, just distracting more than anything. But we see it there. You know, they go in, they try and take away their Treant. Yes, it does actually look like Redix was the one to take that down. I didn't actually see who it went across to, but Redix has the little buff on him. Kavalafar's going to get caught out here. Should go down. Dark Potato needs one more auto. And there it is. Stick of the Lance takes him out. And Kavalafar was just a little overextended as we saw G2 roaming and rotating on towards him. And immediately, this is exactly what I'm saying. As soon as you get a lead, you go and you take other people's XP. And it means that if you get a big enough lead early on, the enemy team it's very difficult to come back into the game, assuming they don't make mistakes and give you kills.
Yeah, if you could do that consistently, and especially if you can take back camps away, it makes it very difficult to get a good source of early experience and gold for the team that loses those back camps. It is something that a lot of teams have talked about being a problem, that sometimes they don't feel like there are many comeback mechanics. Palmatora does get that taken for himself and will actually do a lot of damage here to Hondor. They're actually going to do a full-on fight, and G2, I'm not sure they wanted this one, Sona.
No, they did not, and Redix needs to get away from this one. Good jump over the wall by Dark Potato to impale Mowgli. and stop the advance of the Dear Diary Lyra. But Team Secret once again showing their stuff, being able to pick out Hundor. Reddick's going to take a lot of pain as well. I love Cavalifar on this Vox when he can get rolling, because as soon as he gets breaking point, he's so good at positioning in fights that it doesn't matter that it was nerfed slightly in update 123. He's still getting stacks, he's still getting damage down. And I think after we see him get breaking point here, we should count how many stacks he's getting in these fights, because I think it will be a sight to see.
Yeah, well, obviously when you get the double Tyrant monocle as well, breaking point obviously depends on how much damage you're dealing to. So you end up just stacking it incredibly quickly with this particular build, so I really don't think it took too much of a hit in the last patch anyway. What I also wanted to note was the combination between Lyra and Rhyme. One of the issues with Rhyme is that he sometimes feels like he isn't quite able to make everything from Winter Spire land, because the enemy's he's got that sometimes got high mobility, they can just walk out of it in a lot of cases. But combine that with Lyra, with Principum Arcanum, and also the Sigil with the slows that come through from both of those abilities, and Bright Bulwark, you're just giving a whole area for Winter Spires to just consistently land damage, and that's, I think, what Palmotoro and Mowgli are doing incredibly well here. It's just getting that combo between their abilities, really just pressuring over and over again. Doesn't mean that Valkyrie missed there, though, and Cavalifar and squad will realise this is probably cause to just take a little backseat and not try and force the fight any harder.
Yep, just a quick update on the fan vote for this game. It's Team Secret 70%. G2 only getting 30% of the votes from you out there, and that's a little bit surprising for me, because G2, you know, winners of last split, incredibly dominant early on in that first game of the best of 3. Team Secret showed up last game, but I don't feel it's a 70-30 split.
I definitely feel like, for the most case, I would have favoured G2. Like, if I was to look at this before the game started, based on current form, definitely would have given my hat in the ring for G2. But Team Secret have proven me wrong, and they've picked up some strategies. They've adapted. The thing is, they've adapted. They've adapted so well, and this is kind of what Team Secret were good at previously. Their ways and adaptive strategies really allowed them to come back in a series where they might have got the early disadvantage, and they seem to have found that this Rhyme pick has become effective into what most of what G2's win condition has been for a long time, which is Dark Potato on this Lance. Going to see a fight breaking out, Sona.
That we are. Mowgli's incredibly low, does get the fountain down just in time to keep himself alive, and now Dark Potato has to roll his way away. The fountain for G2! Oh, so many low HP bars just brought back up to full by that fountain. Redix timed it absolutely beautifully, as did Mowgli to keep himself alive.
Absolutely, really well played fountain coming out on Dark Potato. Also with the sprint to keep himself out of range of basic attacks from the Cavalifar's Vox, and also some of the resonance bounces too. Breaking point has now been finished, and he is going to be working towards a Tyrant's monocle as well, Sona. So critical strike starting to be stacked up for Cavalifar at this point. Also take a look at Mowgli. He looks like he's working towards a Crucible following the Fountain. An Eve of Harvest, first item for Rhyme. Unsurprising there, that is a pretty standard Rhyme build. He kind of relishes the ability to remain sustained in fights. So with that fortified health and bringing back the health through the use of Eve of Harvest, does like the ability to have long, sustained fights. So that's generally the first item that you see most Rhymes end up going for.
That it is. G2 once again looking for something out of this. Dark Potato has the Tension Bow Storm Guard building up towards that crown, you'd assume. It's all really up to whether he lands these Impales or not. Now, a good Winter Spire will lock the bottom side of that map out, and Redix has to use the Gauntlet defensively to try and get away. There's the wait for it. Redix, a couple of auto attacks will take him out. He does have to use the Fountain to keep himself alive, and Team Secret really didn't take too much pain for that. Valipar's a little bit low, but they still have their own Fountain in the pocket. Here comes Dark Potato. There's the Fountain out, and Dark Potato will retreat. They just back away for the moment. Team Secret once again eyeing up a fight. They want a Barney. Palmotoro is the target. Githyanwall knocks him back. He doesn't want to go for this one just quite yet. They really only want to fight when they've got gauntlets, or at least when they've got that death from above. Now Reddick's going to get jumped on here. Does take the passage back. And because all Team Secret are taking it so quickly, they won't be able to follow him back through.
I don't think Mowgli had the energy for the Bright Bulwark as he went through initially. So he saw there was a kind of delayed Bright Bulwark there, because he was probably just spam clicking that ability hoping it would come off. But obviously if you use Bright Bulwark as soon as you use the passage, you can't actually, the enemy can't exit back through it, so it's kind of like trapping them in there with you. So he wasn't able to get that off immediately, and does mean that Redix was just able to walk back through the other side and escape quite readily. Let's have a look. It looks like it's going to be Dark Potato with the Tension Bow Stormcrown build, but because G2 have been kind of starved of that early accelerated lead that they often find themselves with, he's only sitting on the Tension Bow and Stormcrown right now. I think at this point, last game he had an Aftershock on top of that too, so, or at least had the most of the parts. Cavalifar now, Githian Wall, Death from Above, does dodge.
Dodge it out, Dark Potato falls though, and G2 now on the back foot. They didn't have the gauntlet for that fight. Redix needs to get away. 2 seconds on the Vanguard to get himself back to Hundor and to safety. Almost gets taken out by those resonance bounces coming out from Cavalifar. He's doing so much work with that Sonic Wave, just absolutely melting through the side of G2.
What this does allow is for them to go for the gold mine, however. Don't know if G2 can actually contest this, and Cavalifar is there to meet them if they are. Redix, nope. Stopped right in the tracks by the
Vanguard's
rifle
himself, so he doesn't get the extra space. Does use the gauntlet as well, so that's on cooldown for another 110 seconds. Didn't even get it to connect. This is a huge lead for Team Secret. 2,000 gold. They're going to push towards this turret as well, which has already sustained quite a bit of damage. And Team Secret in a superb position to continue to close out this game.
Yeah, Crucible now there as well for Mowgli, so should the gauntlet become an issue for Palmatoro, which, you know, in essence, one of the big issues for Palmatoro can be if he gets locked outside the gauntlet or is locked away from Hundor or Dark Potato inside the gauntlet and just has Redix to deal with, then that sometimes can be a bit of a problem. But, you know, any issues now, especially also for Cavalifar wanting to dip, dodge and dive around it as well, they should be able to block them out, and Cavalifar having his own reflex block is pretty important too. Also note that Palmatoro, as the Rhyme realizing how important movement speed is, has very quickly invested into travel boots. They essentially give him extra ability to get on top of his target and start using those Winter Spires. It's something that a lot of Rhyme players will do. They will invest very heavily into movement speed because it is just so valuable to Rhyme players.
Incredibly valuable for them now. Hondor's got to see what he can do to pressure back Team Secret. He doesn't do that much at the moment. He's got Shatter Glass and he's building up towards his Broken Myth, but really until G2 start to get some of these item spikes underneath their belts, they're not going to be able to fight against Secret, who have Tyrant's Monocle already on Cavalifar, Crucible, Fountain finished on Mowgli, building up that Chronograph as well, and then Palmatoro sitting on the Journey Boots and almost has his own Broken Myth. Like, he's in such a good position. They're going for a fight. Cavalifar goes low, Fountain comes out to keep Hundor alive. Cavalifar able to get himself away.
Cavalifar ate a lot of damage there. Palmatoro now by himself looking to essentially 1 versus 3. Sky jumps over the wall. We have another fight, Sona.
That we do. The gauntlet is used now. Cavalifar's going to get impaled, and this is a great fight for G2. Double Githian Wall. Palmatoro doesn't get stunned up, though. What can Hundor do? This is all on him to try and clear out this fight. Here come the Winter Spires from across the wall. Palmatoro's going to step forward. Fortified health is huge for him. Getting so much health on this Rhyme. Impale once again. Palmatoro gets knocked back. Githian Wall is not enough, and G2 retreat away. 1-for-1. Mowgli jumps in. Arcane Passage not going to be enough to take the kill, but Redix should fall here. One more auto from Mowgli. Vanguard keeps Redix alive.
Very, very close fight for Team Secret. I don't feel that they needed to be as defensive once it ended up in a 2 versus 3 and everybody from G2 was on low HP, because if I'm completely frank, the Fountain had been used. They probably could have just started spamming Winter Spires and ended up winning 1 versus 3 anyway. For someone that we talked about, like Cavalifar, having good positioning, didn't quite position in the best scenario there. And again, also in that previous engagement, he got taken very low. He was the front line, kind of soaking up the forward barrage for the rest of his squad. So Cavalifar needs to keep an eye on where he is in relation to the rest of the team fight, and hopefully we'll see Team Secret fare slightly better. They didn't fare the worst, and you would definitely say that they were the winner of that team fight, but given their position, you would expected them to have kind of run away with it, especially how much damage Palmatoro is doing at this point in time. Cavalifar, the target, and I think Redix overstepped potentially.
I was a little bit surprised that Cavalifar fell so quickly in that fight. Now, he was acting almost as a front line for his team, and that's really Palmatoro's job. You know, you've got your fortified health on Palmatoro, you need to be stepping up. I think actually, if I remember correctly, update 123 had a buff fortified health as well by 5% from 15 to 20% maximum fortified health. So it's absolutely, you know, you could really build up a big shield for yourself when you're fighting up against these teams. And Palmatoro needs to be that front line. If Cavalifar's the one jumping in, yes, he's very good at sidestepping. Yes, he's got great dancing shoes, but you don't want to force him into that sort of situation. Now, they're trading a target for a gold mine, and they're looking for the engage. Gauntlet comes out from Redix. There's the death from above. Mowgli will get stunned up, but this is the point where you want Palmatoy just to take a step, and actually we do have a pause coming out. So find out why that is happened.
Pause right in the middle of the team.
Right, back into the game. So not much is happening. It looks like Team Secret are going to go and just buy up, continue this pressure. Got double time. Its monocle finished on towards Cavalifar. Palmatoy's got Eve Broken Myth, as we said he would. And G2 need to work out how they're going to hold this game, because in 20 seconds the Kraken is on the fold, and that's exactly where Team Secret tend to go.
I think a lot of the winning conditions here now rely on Hundor's ability as a later game Sky, with this item build as well, to just deal the majority of the damage. At this point, Dark Potato and Redix, they're going to have a very tough time at getting through Palmotoro and even applying pressure to Cavalifar. So it's all going to be about, if Sky can do more damage than Cavalifar can, and then you've got to add in the fact that Palmotoro is hitting pretty hard too. So again, Hundor kind of have to be the step up and be the MVP for G2 at this point in time. He's going to have to take that reign and essentially apply as much pressure to the front line of Palmotoro and Mowgli as physically possible. But we have an engage here.
Wait for it's not actually going to connect onto anyone. Detriment buff from Hundor straight on his own face now. They're going to look for Palmotoro. There's still a fountain for Team Secret. There's the Crucible into fountain. Mowgli's going to take some pain. And actually, you have to say G2 come out of that fight as the victors. They've got 15 seconds left on the gauntlet, and G2 are going to try and chase Team Secret down here, because if they can keep them interested, they still have Fountain, they still have Gauntlet, they still have a huge amount they can do. Right, Bulwark in, Mowgli jumps. Here comes Redix off towards the backside. 3 seconds on the Crucible. He's not on the Gauntlet. He's not going to get it down in time. And now G2 lose all of those advantages of which I previously spoke. Palmotoro gets knocked back. The forward barrage from Hundor not going to do too much as Team Secret clean them up and get the ace.
Oh, that looks so bad for Team Secret in that first engage, because they blew all of their cooldowns. Cavalifar became face tanking frontline again, and Cavalifar became face tanking frontline, and Palmotoro took a lot of damage himself. They very wisely backed off through the Bright Bulwark there, which I think was the biggest key point for them to actually recuperating. They made that executive decision that they definitely were never going to win that fight at that point in time. And then G2, hungry to exploit the fact that they had those cooldowns, like the Fountain and the Crucible, were trying to force the fight. But at that point, Palmotoro, Mowgli, and Cavalifar had all regened a little bit of health, and to be honest, were able to re-engage quite nicely. Palmotoro had the energy back with that Eve of Harvest. He was able to start spamming skills, and unfortunately, Redix separated himself, and that just spelt the end for G2. None of those big impact ultimates like the Gauntlet came down, and well, Team Secret managed to exploit it very, very quickly. Well done to them. They also pick up the Kraken off the back of that. And G2 now have to defend pretty hard.
That they do. Kraken pushing in 4,000 gold the lead here for Team Secret. Redix trying to step between the Gauntlet. Not going to be able to get much done. Dark Potato jumps in. Tries to knock back Team Secret, but it's a very momentary delay as Team Secret are looking for this turret. They'll take it down. They've got Kraken still pushing in. 3/4 HP left on that. The big beast is pushing into the base, and by that I mean Team Secret alongside that Kraken. G2, 2 members left alive to try and defend. Team Secret looking for that first crystal turret. They do lose Alma though. This is big. Can Team Secret be turned on here by G2? They still got the Kraken of half HP, tanking up those turrets as much as it can. Redix going to jump in once again. Death from above about to come back off cooldown for Hundor. He goes back to base, tries to regenerate a little bit of HP and energy. Now Cavalifar is the target for Hundor. If he can take down that box, perhaps he can save the game here for G2, but it looks like it's not very likely. Team Secret will take down the Vein Crystal. The Kraken gets the final shot, and it's 2-1 for Team Secret over G2.
As soon as Dark Potato went down there, and they had the pressure to put on those Vein Crystal turrets, Team Secret had already won. At that point, the only damage remaining was Hundor, and he had to choose to use that forward barrage on the Kraken or use that forward barrage on members like Cavalifar, Team Secret. He had to back off and use it on the Kraken, which just gave all that time and space to Cavalifar and Mowgli to take down those 2 Vein Crystal turrets, and then obviously still had split pressure from Kraken and them on that particular Vein Crystal. But you got to look at, really, this Rhyme pick just seems to be the issue for G2. If they don't get this really strong early game, they actually struggle. They really do. And Team Secret realized that, oh, this Rhyme pick into the Lance, we can shut him down. He won't want to fight us because he doesn't do particularly well into Rhyme. And it came to the point where it gets to a later game, team fights become more important, and that's where Team Secret's strengths are coming out to show. And G2 kind of flounder. If they don't